Everything you need to know about 1240 The Brew is on the Brewhouse website, 1240thebrew.com. 1240 KOKL, Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
SJ, welcome to Muskogee Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Joe Jifkadas. Welcome to Muskogee Radio. Mvskoke. Oh boy, we're seeing the wonderful Oklahoma summer coming. Temperatures in the 90s, and watching a roofing crew on top of the council house and being awful glad I wasn't up there. The semi-annual progress report, they've got folks working on that roof today. Bell tower has been shored up, and they're putting new shingles up there on the top of that one. So we're seeing some progress happening, and it happened fairly quickly. So that's a nice sign there. All right, let's get on with the program here this morning. Not many people know the full extent of the talents of our Jason Salsman. Besides being our TV producer and star on screen, Jason is a drummer with local popular band and has been traveling the area doing some gigs when he's not busy doing things in front of the TV camera. Darren Delaune got a chance to get some of his time down here in the studios of 1240 The Brew, and Darren and Jason chatted a bit about that end of Mr. Salsman's career.
Welcome to Muskogee Radio. This is Darren Delaune. I'm going to be doing a little segment with none other than one of my closest friends and Native News Today host, Jason Salsman. How you doing, Jason?
Good, Darren. Thanks for having me, man. It's always fun to come down and be on the radio.
Jason, a lot of people, across Muskogee Creek Nation, they know you that you host on Native News Today, which comes on, Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing it for certain amount of
Don't say it.
Amount
Don't
of years.
say it. Yeah.
I'll let you disclose that. But a lot of there's some people who are who are close to you, and they know there's another talent that you possess as well that you've been doing for a little while, and I'll let you tell a little bit more about this talent that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, you mean my second job?
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
It finally came to be a job.
Yeah. No, I mean it's I've always been, for as long as I can remember, when I was younger, I started playing the drums. Mm-hmm. And, just being musically inclined anyway, from a musical family. My grandmother was a recording artist back in her day, the heyday. And, I remember being a little kid and being in pictures with people like Johnny Paycheck and Boxcar Willie and, people that, most people can't say that they've got a picture of them as a baby being held by Johnny Paycheck at your grandma's house. They weren't hanging out at a bar or anything. He was over at the house hanging. So, just grew up in a musical family, really. My grandmother, and she was heavily involved in the scene. And when honky tonks were big and going there in the early 70s and midway through the 70s and everything, and sort of the urban cowboy revolution, what if you will, just playing clubs and everything like that. Well, then about maybe early 80s, I would say, just around the time, a little bit after I was born, maybe 85, 86. My grandmother underwent a conversion and was born again, accepted Christ into her life, and then it became Southern gospel, and her and my mom and all of my aunts basically formed a Southern gospel group, and sort of we went around to all these singings and revivals and things that they were asked to go to, and sort of in our family, you just kind of the kids got up and sang, and you, if you didn't know how to play anything, you grabbed a tambourine, or if you had a little bit of rhythm, we stuck you on bass. And then I had rhythm, and I enjoyed the drums. I thought they were cool. And so as a young kid, and I can't remember how old I was, I started playing drums with the group. I got a drum set, old drum set. You guys should have seen this drum set. I mean, it was it was amazing. It was like something somebody would have threw away if my mom wouldn't have gave $20 for it at a garage sale. But I put it in my garage, and I drove my mom crazy for a few years, because I took one lesson and I learned a 4/4 beat basically, and then just taught myself from there. And what I do is I would just, for hours, I would just put a Walkman on. That people now are like, what's a Walkman? But put the Walkman, put the headphones on, listen to songs that I liked, and just played drums along with the songs. And through that, I learned a little bit of try different things and make my own style and everything like that. And when I was becoming a teenager in my real formative years, grunge got big, and so we wanted to do the garage band. So
we're talking plaid shirts.
Oh yeah, plaid shirts. We were so misunderstood. Ripped up jeans and let our hair grow out and colored our hair, and we just had a good time with it. And myself and my brother and some of our friends, we started a band, and we played the high school talent show, and we just really killed it, and that was the first time I ever felt that rush from playing in front of a live audience that's reacting to you and giving you the energy and everything like that. And that was just amazing. And I kind of got bit by the bug then. And all throughout that time, I played drums in the church, the praise band and everything like that. And so that was pretty cool. I learned, I probably, crafted most of my drumming from that. And then throughout college and everything, and so for years, I quit playing. I didn't have anywhere to play. I didn't have any, and I always thought, in the back of my mind, I always thought, man, I just wish there was an opportunity, maybe if a band came along that I thought was, pretty good, had a good thing going, needed a drummer, and, that maybe I'm at the place they're playing, and they go, hey, guys, the drummer can't make it tonight. Can anybody fill in or something like that? And it's funny the way things work out, because
it did work out.
Yeah, just a couple years ago, a friend of mine, it's a successful guy in the area. A lot of people know the Brent Giddens band, but Brent had started to do some Elvis impersonating, and people were like, whoa, no way, man, that's crazy. And he's really good at it. He's like one of the top Elvis impersonators in the country. But off of that, I didn't really have any interest in playing Elvis. And I mean, I hope Brent's not listening, but I still really don't. I kind of feel like I'm still want to keep a little bit of my youth, and I feel like if I'm in an Elvis tribute band, I'm just officially an old man. But no, Brent had a thing going, and he kind of segued out of Elvis into doing more regular country, shows, Red Dirt, kind of what's big here in Oklahoma. And I'm a fan. I'm a Red Dirt fan, from back in college. And, the rise of kind of Red Dirt, it started kind of with Mike McClure and those guys, and really, making it popular here in Oklahoma. It had always been big in Texas and everything, but kind of making it popular here in Oklahoma, across Canadian Ragweed, and Mike McClure, and then Stoney LaRue kind of came on and caught fire. And I just kind of, developed an affinity for that genre and that music. So I was always thinking, man, I wish Brent didn't have a drummer, already or whatever, and he always did. And then one night he was going to play the next night. It was a Friday night, and he had a Saturday night show at the RV Ranch in Tulsa. It's since closed down, but that's kind of a place where he played a lot at that time. Well, he called me up on that Friday night and was like, hey, man, the drummer can't make it. And I'm like, oh, man, what I've always wanted. But the problem was I didn't even have a drum kit. I hadn't played, and, I didn't have a drum kit. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, gosh, what am I going to do? I got to find a drum set. So luckily a guy that works at our office, Muskogee Media, plays drums too, Tate Delaune. And Tate had a kit. And I just, man, you never know, because you never think somebody's going to want to let you borrow their drum set. Especially Tate, man, he's pretty particular about his drums and everything. But I went to Tate, and man, just to his credit, he was so cool about it, and he was like, yes, you can use it, that's great. And I just thought that was so cool. So I took Tate's drums, and then Brent sent me like a set list of like over 50 songs. I mean, they play for 4 hours. So, and I was like, oh, Jiminy Christmas. The good thing is that I was a big fan and still am of classic country music, you know, Haggard, Jones, Waylon Jennings, Hank Williams Jr., things like that. So a lot of the songs I already knew, and I just kind of was like, okay, I know those, I can play them, no problem. A couple of them we had to learn, you know, things like that. You go through those sort of growing pains of the set, but we played and we just killed. I mean, it was a great set. We all meshed together. The guys seemed to like my drumming, and it wasn't long after that till Brent was inquiring about whether I would want to do it, be his new drummer. And I said, you know, well, I'll talk to my wife, of course. You know, I got a boss at home and boss at work, you know, but let me talk to my boss at home. And we worked it out, and you know, it's great that we had the chance to work that out, and I said yes, I'll do it. And I think since October, November last year, I've been the drummer of the Brent Giddens band. It's been pretty cool.
You know, whenever you said, when you had to ask the boss, which is of course your wife.
Yeah.
I mean, she kind of understood, man, there's going to be a little bit of a sacrifice that has to come with that.
Yeah.
Because you're saying that you're pretty much playing majority of, for 4 hours, almost like twice in a weekend.
Yeah. And it is a sacrifice for her, and I'm so appreciative of that she sees something that I love to do, that can bring in a little supplemental income to our family, which is always nice. You know, I mean, I probably wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't, you know, supplementing our income, or she probably wouldn't think it was okay if I wasn't, you know, but it's nice to be able to do that. You know, we have lots of expenses with 2 children, and daycare and things like that, and that income that comes in that's not regular from our 2 incomes is nice when it comes to being able to pay for some of the things that like daycare and stuff that tend to rack up on parents when they have 2 little ones.
I want to go back to when you say you got your first start, you know, from, you know, your grandmother. We consider, I mean, whenever we talked about this before, we consider the matriarch of this band, you know. And you said she had a conversion from, you know, she wanted to play more of the Southern gospel, and that's where you picked it up at. Was it the drums, like, that just caught your eye, or was there any other instrument that, you know, maybe just, you know, was right there along with it? Bass guitar. Yeah.
I think that everybody kind of has that. I mean, I think everybody has an ego, and a little bit of their ego would always say, like, I want to be the lead singer, or, like, I want to be that shredding guitar player or whatever like that. But I never really had that. I thought that way about the drums. I thought that the drums was, you know, and I talked to so many musicians that now, as I'm older, and it didn't have anything to do with it at that time, because I was just kind of young and didn't know what I was doing. I just thought the drums were cool. But, you know, you talk to people now, and it's like drums are they're the number one, you know, position in a band, because everything starts and ends with you, and everything sort of, you know, you're driving the boat, you know. So it's a good position to be in. It's kind of cool. You get to lay back and be behind everybody and kind of just do your thing, and you don't have to, you know, you don't have to do nothing but hit those drums and keep everybody in beat and keep everybody dancing and having a good time. And so for me, it just was always sort of, I gravitated to that. But I mean, there were times where I play a little guitar, you know, a little acoustic and stuff like that, but there were times where I had interest in other instruments. You know, I wanted to play the fiddle too. I thought it was so cool. Mandolin. I always thought those bluegrass instruments were really awesome, and I wanted a chance to learn those. But man, those are tough. A lot easier than just kind of using my rhythm, translating it onto drums. But so I just kind of naturally gravitated most to the drums, even though there was interest in other stuff. My aunt played the bass, still does, very, very good, incredible bass guitar player. So, you know, that piqued my interest at one time too, but it always ended up being the drums. I think it always was going to be the drums.
With, you know, how you brought up about when you joined Brent Giddens' band, you had, he played a lot of classic country, played a lot of Red Dirt. You know, like you said, it's very, very popular now. You know, there are numerous genres in the music industry. We got hip-hop, we got blues, we got, you know, like I said, the country. Did you, I guess, in practicing, like you said, when you had the old Walkman on and just listening to those songs, was it various songs, or was it just like from a certain genre, or could you adapt to playing any kind of music?
A little bit of the same, but I also wanted to play all kinds of stuff, just to have a different range and everything. So I'd be playing, I'd be listening to songs that we needed to learn for church, and also like, I'd even listen to like, old school '90s hip hop to get those funk, kind of grooves and beats and things like that, and playing drums with songs that you wouldn't think would have drums, but they have drums, but they're like all electric and synthesized and everything. But just playing basically with songs like that, and then of course a lot of your church songs are going to be more slow and moving, emotive, and things like that, where you're doing a lot of cymbal work and stuff like that. And so I got a well-rounded segue into that, and like I said, the R&B stuff to where I could, play some funky stuff, and then like rock, I was big in the grunge, like I said, and then you could just let it fly, just be a monster back there. So that was fun too, and it led me to be able to play a wide range and a wide variety of music that I may not even necessarily listen to, or it be a preference of mine in my own regular life, or what I like to listen to on my own time.
With the just now thinking about playing in that band, like that first night when they gave you the playlist, we told you we got to be here at the RV Ranch at so and so time. And what was going through your head, like what was that thought process?
I was pretty nervous that first show, just because, like I said, it'd been forever since I'd played. Not only that, but like I said, I was in the group with my grandparents, but you're going to like little churches and little singings and stuff like that, and even a big church is different than playing like a live show at a club, at a bar, where people are coming to see a good band and want to dance and stuff like that. So I mean, I think just strictly because the fact that I walked in to set my drums up and shook hands with like the guitar player, the bass player, and the keyboard player, never even met him in my entire life. And in just an hour, we're going to have to run through 50 songs really well. So it was pretty nerve-wracking. But what was crazy was, like, after the very first song, it was just like that all went away, and it was just like the time of my life. I mean, it was so fun.
With it brings it back up. Of course, when you bring up the Southern gospel, my mom reminded me of there was a revival of all places, the Muskogee Dome. They hold them from time to time, and my mom happened to be down there, and she said, "Hey, Jason was playing." She goes, "I never knew about that." And she was shocked to hear that and see that. And I said, "Hey, there's talents that we all possess, and like that's one of his is drumming." That like rolls into that question about whenever you said you were nervous that night. Do you get nervous like whenever you play like something like such as a revival? Or
I think that one was particularly nervous too, because like I said, I'm setting up my stuff, and a lot of people know me from the show, but they have no idea that I do that too. So there was a lot of people I knew kind of like looking at me like, what's he doing? Like who, and all that. And my family, has been blessed to play a lot of places around here. They played the hymn singing for the festival one year, when it was at the Mound, basically. And so, they've played a lot of places around here. So some people know them, the Shipley Family, some people know that group. But for me, that was kind of nervous too, just for the simple fact of, there's a lot of people that, are there and going, "Oh, hey, man, I didn't know he played the drums." And so it was kind of neat to be able to play in front of him, but also at the same time, you don't want to fall in your face. You don't want to make them, it worth their while to come. And at a revival especially, you're just there as a musician to usher in the spirit, or as we see it, and really, that's the good thing about playing church, playing music for for God or the Lord or whatever you are, whatever you believe or anything like that, is that's kind of, the pressure does kind of come off because it's not about you, it's about something else. And so you can kind of just let yourself be led to be a part of whatever's going to happen.
With that group, did you say that that's the family that plays?
Yeah.
With that
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Shipley family.
All right. Would that be? I know I'm going to be asking this pretty soon. But I want to go ahead and ask it now. Would there be a reunion tour? For the Shipley family?
Maybe. I sometimes I play with them still.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be asked to play a funeral or something like that. A lot of people like them to sing at funerals and stuff like that. And at first, when I was younger, maybe more immature, I thought, man, I don't want to play a funeral or do this. But you get older and you realize that it's a wonderful gift that when a family asks you during a rough time for them or a really difficult time for them to do something to honor their loved one and honor their family. So I started looking at it that way, and that's the only way to look at it. Is it's an incredible honor to be asked to be part of something so special to them, and so at such a tough time. So you have to step up and do the best you can. Once again, it's not about you; it's about somebody else, and somebody else is hurting. And that may bring them a little bit of joy or comfort to play their loved one's favorite song or a song that they love to hear this group sing or whatever.
That's what I was going to roll into. Is a very significant moment. Especially when the family requests a certain song that particular person might have loved.
Yeah, one of our biggest ones that we're always asked to do at funerals is Beulah Land. Mm-hmm. And it's one that it's one of their better songs, so it's very moving, and it just paints a picture of that death really isn't the end or any kind of victory, and there's no kind of victory in death. It's sort of just the ushering of our spirit and our soul into this more beautiful place where there is no sadness, pain, or suffering. And to be able to play that song, you kind of get lost in it, and you're able to close your eyes and sort of you let the music and the words take you to where that song is trying to place everybody's mindset. So it's special.
Let's roll a couple more questions. Now you're with the Brent Giddens Band. You say you started about maybe October.
Yeah, October, November last year.
Where have y'all been? Where have y'all been playing at?
Oh man, where have we not played? Just Darren all over really at the big casinos. We play 5 o'clock somewhere bar in Margaritaville quite a bit. A lot of people follow us up there. It's one of our better shows. A lot of crowd. Lots of people and a good crowd every time. Getting a following there. We play the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tulsa. We play Downstream Casino in Joplin. The First Council Casino in Newkirk, all the way down to the Choctaw Casinos, all down in Choctaw Country, Durant, Idabel, Broken Bow. And, little places during the summer, we played like the fireworks show in Altmoggy, and then we'll play like the lake at both Grand and Eufaula Lake. They have us at the marinas and stuff like that. So those are fun shows. And then we got a big show coming up at Bordertown in Seneca, Missouri. And then we've got another big show in Kansas at a big place up there called it escapes me right now, but something Saloon, but it's a big spot that's had some big bands. So we're getting some good notoriety, and we're playing a lot of places, and we're keeping a good schedule, that's for sure. But we've played a lot of places, and just last week I think we played like 5 shows in 6 days. So it was we were real busy during the holiday, but normally it's just a couple days out of the weekend, and like I said, it just requires me to be gone throughout the night, but really, me and my wife are at the point where we're kind of old people, trapped in young people's bodies. It's like we're like, oh, she's like, oh, I'm just hanging out here anyway, and we just do our thing, and we're not like young lovebirds anymore where we got to be up in each other's business all the time, and we kind of get our space from one another and in those instances. So that's nice, but we've actually been really hustling, in support of this new CD that put out, titled Worth It, and that's the title track. It's a song that Brent and I wrote And that song's actually been doing well. It's been Song of the Week in Texas, on the Texas internet, basically contest that they have down there, Texas radio. It's been Song of the Week the last 2 weeks, and we're winning this week too. And I think if we win this week, it's retired. So, but I want to thank everybody out there for voting. And but that song's climbed the charts in Texas. It's been awesome to see it do well, especially since Brent and I just wrote it in like 15 or 20 minutes, I think, on the back porch.
Of all places,
yeah,
the back porch.
yeah, on his back porch, just hanging out one night. I just went over there and we just said, let's do a little writing. And he had some stuff already kind of thrown together a little bit, an idea of how he wanted the song to go. And I just kind of jumped in and gave my 2 cents on the phrasing here and there, and put in some words. And I think I wrote like the last half of each verse and some of the chorus. So, I mean, we basically just teamed up to finish it out. And we recorded it at Drap Studios in Tulsa, and Drap Studios is who recorded the first Hanson album too. So that's kind of funny trivia there. But we recorded it, sent it out. We're real proud of it, and it's done really well on Texas radio.
Is there?
It's up for Song of the Year too, in the Texas Music Association.
Is there? I mean, I know it's getting a lot of play in, of course, Texas. I think that's probably because they're more of like certain with the radio stations.
Yeah, here in Oklahoma, we don't really have any independent radio. If it is, it's like online or blogs or something. But in Texas, they have radio stations that don't have to play certain what they're told to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the big channels, like the Clear Channel and stuff, they're told what to play. They're given playlists and things like that. But down in Texas, if they have some independent music or whatever, they'll play it on the radio. So it's gotten big down there, and if it got big here, that'd be great too, because that will have meant that some big artist picked it up and cut it, or the fact that they played us on radio here in Oklahoma. But it's a little bit tougher to break on in Oklahoma than it is Texas.
How are people able to listen to that?
You can go to iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, any of the Spotify, Brent Giddens Band, and just search in there, and you'll have a completely listing of our recordings. There's a bunch of songs on there.
With with that coming up, like and also the new songs. Is there any other songs that you're writing now? You and Brent both?
Yeah, I just wrote a song that Brent just recorded last night. He took my song that I wrote, and went and recorded it last night. And he had a song that he wrote that he recorded last night, and he just sent them to me in email, and they're pretty good. A little song I wrote called "My Sanctuary," just kind of about punching the clock at the end of the week, and you kind of you get a chance to maybe go out with your friends and see a band, or you're on the road in a band. It's just part of your escape from regular old boring mundane everyday life, which I thank God for, because I've got 2 beautiful girls and a wonderful wife and a great family. But sometimes you just need that little escape from it, and just to get somewhere where a part of the song says, when I'm feeling kind of bad, feeling kind of sad, or I just want to stay up late. So some people, they come out because they've had a bad week, or they're having sad feelings, or some come out to turn their luck around or something, or some people, like I said in the last part of that lyric, some people just want to come out and stay up late. They just don't want to go to bed. They're night owls. They want to come out and hang out. So those people, a collection of all those people, are kind of at those places are sort of your escape. You never know who you're going to meet and stuff like that. So a different part of the song talks about strangers becoming friends and stuff. So it was just a song about getting that time where you just get away from everything.
You brought up your children, your little girls, and had the music bug. Well, you spoke about you getting hit with the music bug at an early age. They're coming up in age now, where they're all over the place. Has the music bug hit them?
Yeah, I think that they both like to play on my drums, and I think Peyton is my oldest. And she's expressed a desire maybe to learn them one day, but she's got 3 million things going on. And the little one, she just wants to bang on them and make the most noise she possibly can. So right now, they love what I do, and they love coming and singing along and stuff like that. And Peyton likes to sing songs and do her karaoke and stuff in her room. So I don't know. We may have a future star in there. I'm not sure. She sure does good dance routines to some of these younger kids' songs that come out and stuff.
And that also goes to show that we don't see an ending to the Shipley Family Band anytime soon.
No, they're still playing. My grandma, she'll call me every now and again. I think she quit asking me a long time ago because I just didn't have the desire to play for forever. And I had things going on, which I'll regret this someday, but I had things going on that I thought were more important, or I didn't want to give up to go do that, And, one of these days when my grandma's gone, I'll regret those times where I didn't go. And there'll be a day where I would give anything, $1 million, to just go somewhere and play drums for her. And I know that now, you get older and stuff like that and you realize, but they're still going strong. Now she's getting a little bit older, but they still go and they'll still play. And if you ask them to come, usher in the Holy Spirit, they'll do it in a heartbeat. I promise you that.
With the Shipley Family, do you know if they're going to be playing anytime soon?
I don't know if they'll be playing anytime soon. I'd have to ask them. I haven't heard of anywhere, but they usually get up and do a few songs every now and again at my grandma's home church, which is Lighthouse Church in Eufaula.
Okay. What about the Brent Giddens Band? I know y'all, like we said, we play every weekend.
No rest for the weary. Yeah, this Friday night we're in Joplin at the Downstream Casino. And then we got to turn around right back and playing a big private business party in Enid the next night. From Joplin to Enid, it's going to be fun. Last week we did, one night was at Sharky's on Grand Lake, and then the very next night at Newkirk at the Seven Clans First Council Casino, and it was like, oh my goodness. But then sometimes it gets like that, you get on the road and you're like, goodness gracious. But on some of those long trips, Brent and I wrote songs, and we take that time to kind of cut the fat off some of the songs we've thought about and laugh at horrible ideas and things like that. And then things that we think were horrible ideas, we keep working at it, and they end up on. We had one song that we wrote, and all we ever did was laugh at it and say how ridiculous it was, and it ended up on the CD. So, we just, because we went and cut it with Lewis, and it sounded great. And we were like, man, that's hot dang. That's crazy that we didn't think that song was going to go anywhere, and we ended up cutting it. So, those are the times we take just to kind of unwind a little bit and kind of get some of the songwriting done, because you just have road in front of you. What else are you going to do? Yeah.
Well, we got, I want to thank Native News Today host, drummer, songwriter, singer. Did I cover everything? Father?
I think so. Yeah. Might be a couple of other choice words people would describe me with out there. Stop it right there.
Yeah, let's stop it. Jason, I want to thank you for coming up on the show today and being able to talk to us about being a drummer and got your start and everything.
Yeah. Come out and see us. If you're, go to BrentGiddens.com, check out the tour. We call it a tour. It's funny. We go to Missouri and Kansas and I think Texas, but it's not like a tour. But I guess you have to put that on the website. Yeah. But tour dates, or you can't just put shows. I guess we could put shows, but go on there. There's a complete list. We're booked all the way into October. Some place already booked us for New Year's Eve, which I just think is so ridiculous because I'm like, that's so far away. But
so I have something to do that night.
It's nice to have it locked up. Yeah, it's nice to have it locked up, and like I said, we're playing places that are not only nice venues, but they're treating us good too, with compensation and hooking us up and everything like that. So it's been a great treat and real fun for me, and it's a great outlet to be able to translate the rhythm and the soul onto an instrument.
Awesome. Again, thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me, Darren.
And you're listening to Muskogee Radio.
This is Darren Delaune and our own Native News Today host Jason Salsman. Listening to that interview, I was just compelled to start singing and humming On the Road Again by Willie Nelson, but I guess we'll not do it. Yeah, I'm being urged to do it now, but I'll do it in my mind. It'll become my next earworm, I'm sure. We'll take a short pause right back and be right back. We have Sterling Cosper joining us today. We're going to talk about some of the election coverage that we've got planned for this year. So stay with us here on Muskogee Radio, 1240 The Brew.
One Fire Casino in Mulskogee offers Ladies' Day every Monday with $5 match play, VIP days for seniors on Tuesdays, lunchtime match plays on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and several other great drawings and prizes throughout the weekend. Don't forget to take advantage of spinning the wheel on Sundays to win up to $5,000 cash. Be sure to check out the daily meal specials at Council Oak Cafe. There are exciting monthly giveaways with extravagant prizes. Come and play at One Fire Casino, where it really is okay to play with fire.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Well, welcome back to Muskogee Radio. We seem to be concentrating on drums here, even in the PSA. Joining me today is Sterling Cosper. He is the manager of Mvskoke Media and taking on a big job there. And one of the biggest jobs that we have is covering our elections. We've got elections coming up this fall, a couple of seats there, and we're going to try and tackle it in perhaps a new, more intense fashion, but let me let him explain what we've got up our sleeve for this year's Muskogee Nation elections.
Well, Gary, thanks for having me. It's quite a different year this year because this is the first election that we have free press. So generally speaking, Jessica McBride, is our managing editor, is going to be over kind of coordinating our coverage, and I can give you a little bit of details about that. But maybe what I'll focus on more is kind of the philosophy under that free press model. So we passed our free press law under the last general election, and it was kind of in the middle of it to where we could kind of use it towards the tail end. This is the first time we've had time to actually plan our coverage and approach. So we've been working on this for months, and there's two essential things to watch for in our change. Number one is the editorial end. Naturally, with free press, we feel more comfortable being able to ask candidates the tough questions without fear of reprisals, say they do get in office. So essentially what we're doing, instead of focusing so much on demographic information like clan, tribal town, etc., we're actually going to be engaging them about current tribal issues. On the business side, and something a lot of people may not have thought of, is that we actually have language in our bill that allows us to sell campaign advertising for the first time. And it's kind of the same thing as the editorial end, in the fact that maybe we wouldn't feel as empowered to enforce our deadlines and things that we need to do to get that advertising in, say that person got in with fear of reprisal. So a big initiative at Muskogee Media is that we're trying to increase our own self-funding, and this is going to be a great opportunity for us. For the candidates, say, if they didn't get something in that they wanted to say, with our questions on the election profiles, they can pay for advertising space or time or what have you, and be able to say exactly what they want within reason and parameters to the citizens.
Well, that is I would say, the critical difference in looking at what we're going to be doing. First of all, there won't be that pressure or influence coming. It has in many tribal elections in the past, not only here but around Indian country. There was, let's say, a candidate who didn't exactly get things the way they wanted, so they would go to a council member or perhaps a principal chief or a chairman or something like that, and have them lean on the press organization to try to get things their way. With this situation here, that's all in the past, right?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Can't say it enough. And it may not be so much, in the past of active influence, but, there was a lot of even mistrust for people that weren't incumbents, because they're like, for the people that really followed the tribe, they're like, you're under the executive branch. What are you guys doing for them in this election process and your coverage? And of course, that's going to shape votes. I can tell you we've never complied with that, whether or not we had free press. But there's also this other aspect of we may hesitate to act where we should as journalists if we didn't have free press, and I think that's where the big change is going to be.
So instead of erring on the side of caution, we'll take that bold leap.
Yeah, be journalists.
Right. It may not be quite as bold as we're crowing about at the moment, but ever since we were able to count our chickens on free press, it has changed our attitudes, I think, about doing our job. Now we can have discussions, tackle issues, do things we know that the Muskogee citizens need to know about and be aware of. And the way their leaders are chosen is one of the huge issues we've got there. Now, will there be anything new in the way assignments are made? You know, you've got of course, this show is part of it, Native News Today and Muskogee Nation News, and of course the website. Now, will we be looking at specific races, perhaps specific candidates or anything like that?
Well, one thing I can tell you, there might be those out there that think with our free press, we're off the hook, we don't answer to this larger hierarchy, and therefore we're kind of running our own show. But I can tell you essentially all we did by advocating for that is ask for a lot more work. And so, yes, we're doing coverage across all platforms. We're going to get as much out of it as we can within reason with the times that we work. One thing that's really cool is that we're going to be doing video profiles through the Native News crew. Now, those may not all show up on the actual broadcast on the network, but we are going to be uploading videos throughout that election. That's something new to kind of look for. So I think what's really cool all around is the fact that a lot of the candidates went out to the communities and gave these forums and things like that, but we're actually able to press them based on our understanding of following tribal issues all year round to inform citizens of things they may not know about that these people could potentially affect and impact their lives. And I think what I hope most importantly, how this is going to work is that I'm hoping it's going to drive up voter participation more because they actually know the people that they're voting for, and we're going to play an integral role in that.
Right. That's one of the issues that's plagued Native America for decades is, being a tribal member should mean more to you than just getting a cheaper license plate. I mean, you got to step up and take on some responsibilities. And I hope our listeners will forgive me for getting preachy about that one. But, you've got to take on the responsibilities of of being a citizen. As I say, there's a lot more to it.
And on the other side of that coin, how are they going to find out if no one's telling them these decisions and how they impact them? So I hope to see a difference in that as we move forward, trying to inform them about it.
Now, at the beginning of our conversation, you were hitting on a subject that we had spent some time on in our editorial discussions, and that's what do we hear from voters? What do they want? Do they have a philosophy or something they want to see? And many of them raise the questions they want candidates that have a lot more tradition and culture to them, more Indian, so to speak, versus kind of a more business mentality. Now, that's got to be a tough one. I guess in the simplest form, it would raise the question, well, do we want somebody who's really fluent in the language, or do we want somebody who can run the tribe as a business as perhaps it needs to be in some cases?
Well, honestly, from what I've heard, there's been a desire for a lot more of both. And so the person you're picturing there as you describe them is quite the candidate. Indeed. Yeah, honestly, we watch our news feed all the time and see what citizens are kind of interested in, along with what we see as important from our coverage, and kind of try and find that balance. Just like voters are trying to find the balance between, is this person cultural enough to know our needs, but are they also up enough in the modern age to grow our tribe? Because there's also service needs that come from their ability to understand business and government and things like that, but they also do want them to have that cultural background and kind of maybe apply that to how they go about the modern business too.
Yeah, that'd be almost a super Indian there.
Yeah.
Super Creek.
That's the first word that popped in my mind too.
Well, that's got to be a tough one, and we hope that those who are considering running for office will understand and perhaps bring those priorities and abilities with them as they pursue the office. We have interesting perspective here. We're doing this essentially with an unfettered position. Our wings are spread, so to speak. At this point, have you or any of the editorial staff been aware of any reaction from possible candidates or citizens about this new election coming up and how maybe we may be showcasing it?
Well, I personally haven't heard a lot of feedback, but what I can tell you is that in the past, in PAX elections, I've heard a lot based on why aren't you guys doing this or that. And what we learned kind of in our free press process is the fact that a lot of citizens didn't even know we were under the executive branch. And naturally, when you still are, you're kind of a little pensive about how to address those when you get those phone calls and things. So I think what we're going to see now that we do have it is candidate filing starting next week on Monday, and we're going to start ramping up really fast. They're going to have deadlines to start turning things in later in the week. And as we start publishing our results, like engaging them on the issues, I think we're going to start getting a lot more information about that. So we've done a lot of planning because we know we need to. But inevitably, we're going to be learning a lot of stuff along the way and kind of working out the kinks maybe for the election in 2 years, too, and applying what we learn.
A couple of the major questions that we've been kind of looking at and trying to plan for have been like, of course, citizenship and what does it take to become a member and to vote, to cast a ballot. And also, how are these campaigns being financed? Which is a huge one that I don't think it's ever been done much anywhere, and that I've seen in my entire career. We've never looked at campaign finance. This time we are going to be doing that, and so if somebody's looking like they're in the pocket of some big corporation, then we're going to hopefully be able to share that, to let people know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That Campaign Finance Act was passed shortly before the last election. We're not quite sure how that was applied in that election because, by my understanding, recollection, I was covering council at the time, it should have been in place. We may be looking at that, but more importantly, of course, we're focusing on how it's going to apply in this election. We've been trying to get information, of course, about who is on this commission that's going to be reviewing campaign finance literature and enforcing it and all of that. So we're just starting to get answers in. We've provided some of that information on our online outlets, and you will see it in publication and broadcast soon. I won't go into it too much because it's not my immediate scope. That's Jessica McBride, but I will say keep an eye on MuskogeeMedia.com, the paper, your show, and of course Native News Today for more information, and we're going to be following that closely. I remember the administration had us watching ethics videos, you recall, from the FBI talking about how basically business contractors and people who do dealings with the tribes and their officials, if they buy influence, that's not in anyone's best interest. And if they're providing campaign funds and all of a sudden they become a contractor under the administration once they're in office, well, that raises some real ethical concerns and could have really big implications for the citizens.
We're always hearing stories or complaints about contracts being given to campaign supporters. You know, big money there. Okay, well, they get the job when it comes around. Have we taken the time now to look at some of the issues regarding the citizenship question? And I guess related would be blood quantum, about who can become a member and then be able to vote.
Yeah, there is a lot going on this election between campaign finance and this blood quantum petition. So to start off with who can vote, I've seen a lot of misconceptions on social media that people think you have to be a quarter to vote, this and that. This is not true. And we've had Nelson Harjo Jr. on a lot of our outlets. He's the new election board manager, and it seems like he's made his mantle to go ahead and try and dispel a lot of this misinformation and be more communicative with the public. What is true right now is you do have to be a quarter to run for any elected office. Citizen Eli Grayson had said he started a petition through what he says is a Section 8 process through the Muskogee Creek Nation Constitution, whereas the citizens can enact and change the law. We've done an initial piece, and we'll keep an eye on if we see any developments with that, but essentially what he's looking to do is remove that quarter blood quantum, and so any Creek Nation citizen, regardless of where they stand with that, can run for office, and that will, of course, have a huge impact on the tribe.
It can, or already is, I think, a very divisive issue. We've heard some citizens with extremely strong feelings about this sort of thing, and others think, well, maybe it isn't such a bad idea because we're losing a lot of blood quantum anyway, and if we keep this in place, then nobody can run for office. But I don't know. I'm personally aware of some of that sort of thing, but have you run across it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you'll even run into it personally as a tribal citizen. And to be honest, and maybe I'll just go to personal Sterling rather than Muskogee Media Manager Sterling, that there are a lot of points on both sides of that issue, and they're both valid. And all we're doing is asking people on both sides their opinion and then putting it out there for public discussion. It's a really important issue. You brought up in one of your past questions how a lot of citizens want their elected officials to be enculturated. Well, it raises the question, how much is blood quantum tied to that? I'm not really going to go down that road. It's a dicey one. I'll let our sources do it, but those are a lot of the questions you look at when talking about this issue.
The enculturation issue is going to be with us for a long time, particularly if our blood seems to thin out as we get through the next decade or two. We're already hearing that the language is in danger of disappearing and things like that. There are a lot of people who are trying to head that off to regain culture and things like that. As we look at some of the other kinds of things that are going to be important in this election, have there been any discussions about how the Muskogee Nation deals with other forms of government? I know in the past year or two we've had a lot of discussions with Tulsa about development and like the river and things like that. And of course the state of Oklahoma with tobacco taxes and things like that. And of course with a brand new administration in Washington, D.C., many of the programs across the board, I think, are looking to be tightened up is the easiest way I can put it, but in some of them we may see some catastrophic cuts. So are there discussions like that, or any thoughts about making those kind of connections, governmental connections?
That's an interesting observation, Gary. We just talked about all the stuff going on within the tribe that make this an interesting election, but that just enhances that notion all the more. Starting with Tulsa, of course, we had the Arkansas River Dam Development Project. We'll have to keep an eye on that, and that's just one part of the jurisdiction. We also have the question of economic development in the south part of the jurisdiction to see how that's going to be affected too. There'll be council reps running that could have an impact on that, representing those people. For the state, we have monitored a lot of ongoing budget issues and things like that, and of course that goes into the tribes and how we contribute back to the state. How the state also affects our citizens and how our governments relate to try and impact that. On the federal level, well, we have the Trump administration with a lot of new radical views, and we tried to cover that the best that we can. I wrote kind of a think piece about Donald Trump's interest in who is a very contentious president in Indian country, Andrew Jackson. You, of course, also talked to national journalist Tim Gallego here recently, or excuse me, Mark Trahan recently. We were just having a conversation before this, and kind of picking his brain and getting kind of a blanket perspective on all the stuff he's been covering and trying to package it into one interview by interviewing another journalist. And it seems like there's an awful lot going on there. and an awful lot we need to keep an eye on moving forward with that administration.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we've got several important dates coming up in regards to the election, so maybe we should just kind of kick them out there and see what's remind people of what they should be looking at. Now, of course, the scheduled election will be, I believe, for Council Seat B, and for the primary and general elections coming up. Now, you should have received an absentee ballot request already. Those were supposed to have gone out on June the 12th.
Yes, sir. And then we have the candidate fair actually here today, starting here in about 6 minutes, and they're going to be providing some information to candidates about kind of the election process.
The event is at the Dome, is it, or the legislation?
Says council chambers. There
Okay,
in
right
that
at the
printout.
mound. And by the way, I just saw that mound looking pretty good. Okay, moving on. If there is a problem, then candidates have the ability to protest. That's Thursday, July the 20th, and that's a Friday, and July the 21st from 8 until 5. And they don't list the location here yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. But before that, too, of course, like I mentioned earlier, candidate filing next week, Monday through Wednesday, mostly during business hours, accounting for a pad in the morning, lunch, and then leaving a little bit early at 4, where they're going to go and officially file to run for office, and we'll be there providing them some information about our offerings as well.
In the last election, we actually had a crew there videotaping discussion presentations and things like that. Will we repeat that?
It's a little different this year. We've been tweaking, and as I told you, we kind of apply what we learned from one previous election to the next. What we're going to do is myself and Jessica McBride are going to take turns. We're just going to give them an info packet, and a lot of the stuff is going to have to do with sending them actually over to our building to set up, going on camera for Native News Today, and getting their profile information into us. One thing we're doing this year, because we're actually engaging them about the issues, is instead of taking it right then and there, we are going to allow them to take it home and get it in by a deadline, which I believe is 5 p.m. Next Thursday.
Okay, and those deadlines will be enforced. If you're late and want to talk your way into it, that probably isn't going to happen. So you need to pay attention to the deadlines and get your material in. Okay, coming up now, we're leaping ahead into August. On Thursday, August the 24th, the absentee registration closes at 5, and those request forms must be in or received by the Election Board office by August 24th. By 5 p.m., end of business there.
Yes, and absentee ballots will be mailed out on Monday, August 28th for the primary election.
And coming up right after that, Wednesday, September 6th, is the precinct registration, which closes at 5.
Thursday, September 14th is a logic and accuracy test.
And do they have any logic, or can they be accurate?
To be honest, we may need to follow up on some of this stuff. I'm not even going to act like I know what that is. It's
Yeah.
kind of new to me.
It opens some interesting possibilities there. Okay, on Thursday, September 14th, absentee and precinct training from 6:30 until 8 at the housing building and the second floor conference room for the volunteers and workers.
On Friday, September 15th, precinct workers are going to pick up their supplies.
Oh, okay. All right, coming up on Saturday, the 16th, primary election polls will be open from 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Absentee ballots must be received by the Muskogee Post Office before 10 a.m. Central Time on the date of the election.
It's getting down to business right there.
There we are.
Monday, September 18th through Friday, September 22nd will be the protest period from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. each day.
Okay, on September the 20th, that's the day before my birthday, registration for precinct and absentees will open up again.
On Thursday, October 12th, absentee registration closes at 5 p.m. Absentee ballot request forms must be turned into or received by the Election Board office by October 12th, 2017 by 5 p.m. Central Standard. To be
Okay.
honored for the general.
Yes, and of course, absentee ballots will be mailed out on Monday, October 16th. Registration comes in after that, and we'll try and finish our list at some other point. I want to thank Darren Delaune for his interview with our colleague Jason Salsman and our manager here, Sterling Cosper, for giving us some insight on our coverage for the upcoming election. Go
Thanks for
out
having me, Gary.
and vote. Pleasure. Okay, I want to say Gary Fife, Jaho Jifkidos.
Sterling Cosper, it's good being here.
Okay, Mabu Hedged Wedgekis. You've been listening to Muskogee Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Madam.